Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we are diving into some Wheel of Time origin material that revolves around Robert Jordan's ways and the possible origins of it based on our own folklore. This episode contains no spoilers and was largely inspired by a longtime supporter of the channel who jokingly requested a history tie-in. You know who you are, thank you, and here it is. So what does the ways have to do with Stonehenge? Well, let's look at all the details. Long before Shrek was thrust upon us, Robert Jordan took an ugly, unintelligent, baby-eating creature and flipped the narrative. He made his Ogier gentle-natured book lovers. There is always a duality within the books, so despite looking monstrous and occasionally being confused with Trollocs, Ogier are generally peaceful, with a great love for nature. They live incredibly long lives within their steadings. Now, long ago, during the breaking of the world, Ogier sheltered male channelers in their steadings as a way to keep them from succumbing to the taint on Sidene. It wasn't long before the male channelers left, due to the unnatural sensation of not being able to touch the source. But before going, a group of these men left a gift for the Ogier, called the Talisman for Growing, a terangrial that could grow the ways to connect areas near steadings so that the Ogier could travel long distances in a short amount of time. What we have is a male magic user working with Ogier to create a stone gate that creates a magic pathway for fast travel. My hypothesis is that Robert Jordan was inspired by the oldest depiction of Stonehenge as an inspiration for his origins of the ways, and this is supported by how often he borrows from Arthurian legend to flesh out his characters and objects. From Calendar to Excalibur, and Lan to Lancelot, and many, many more. It's always interesting to stumble upon a connection that I haven't seen anyone else talk about before. And that's how the creation of the ways was borrowed from Le Roman de Brut by the medieval Norman poet Robert Wace, which is a translation of Historia Regum Britannia, or The History of Kings of Britain, by Geoffrey of Monmouth. This manuscript largely narrates a fictional version or pseudo-history of Britain's history from its settlement, started by Brutus of Troy to King Lear, but most importantly, to the story of King Arthur's life. This translation from Latin to Old French is responsible for getting the story into the ears of more people and inspiring many more stories about King Arthur. It would make sense, given how often Jordan borrowed from Arthurian myth, that he would be familiar with this manuscript. Within it is artwork accompanied by the story of how Stonehenge was created. I might add that this is the earliest known artwork of Stonehenge. It illustrates a giant, like Jordan's Ogier, assisting Merlin the magician in the building of Stonehenge. Magic and brute strength, which is very similar to the teaming up of characters Robert Jordan used for his waygates, where Wace shows Merlin and giants building a stone gateway. Jordan used male magic users and Ogier to come up with a unique spin on how the waygate was created and used. The artwork itself even looks similar to how the book describes the waygate. The Wheel of Time television show was inspired by very Eastern-looking architecture for their version of the waygate and used imagery of the Handura Gate, aka the most popular Instagram location in Bali. But within the book series, the waygate takes on a much more primitive dolmen-type design of two upright stone slabs, which is much more similar to Stonehenge. In our history, there are many myths about megalithic sites revolving around magic. The Breton people, who were a Celtic group native to Brittany, believed that the giant Ogier is a builder of megaliths and dolmens. And there is a connection between the myths of Stonehenge and the ways. With Stonehenge being one of the most impressive prehistoric megalithic monuments in the world, it inspires many fantastical stories about its use, and folklore is riddled with stories of portals and parallel dimensions tied to megalithic sites like Stonehenge. Very similar to Robert Jordan's Waygate, which is a portal that leads to an area outside of reality, a stone portal that opens up to an alternate dimension, which leads to another Waygate to make fast travel through long distances easy. While there's no concrete ancient theory stating Stonehenge is a portal or a form of fast travel, like the way Robert Jordan used his waygates, some interpretations have drawn connections to ancient beliefs of magic. There are no historical records of Stonehenge's purpose. People have sometimes speculated about mystical and otherworldly functions and portal-like qualities, but again, these ideas aren't rooted in ancient theories. They are modern interpretations influenced by a combination of mystery, folklore, and imaginative thinking. But the concept of portals in fantasy literature are always a convenient narrative device for characters to travel from point A to B with an element of mystery and adventure. It's not a stretch that Robert Jordan would use bits of the poet Wace's translated pseudo-history of Britain and the inclusion of a famous male magic user to create a large magical stone doorway. But in my opinion, it's very likely, because Robert Jordan often used roots in mythology in a way that connected modern fantasy with ancient storytelling. And I believe it was something he prided himself in as a cornerstone of the series. In the Wheel of Time, legend fades to myth, and even myth is long forgotten. Recycling our legends into his own is a captivating hook in the fantasy genre that Jordan really perfected. And if I really wanted to take it a step further, we could talk about the fact that the Ogier in the Wheel of Time are actually otherworldly creatures, but I'm not trying to delve too deep into the world of ancient alien speculation today revolving around Stonehenge. I just wanted to take a moment to point out that there is always a little bit of myth and folklore in the Wheel of Time, and this is a fun little parallel that I found really cute. If you enjoyed this, make sure you hit the like button, and if you're not already, subscribe to the channel. That's it for today. Thanks for watching, and I will see you back next time.